sequestered. Let me just put the trial on right now. By the way, if you're wondering why I got this on, I don't know, man. Them scallywags at Drake concert, man. Them bitches gave me COVID or some shit. I don't know what the fuck, man. Woke up today. You know, it's summertime. I feel like I am fucking freezing. So I just got like a blanket on. And I turned the heat on, whatever, right? Yes. So, by the way, I think what's happening now, okay, all right. I think what's happening now is that the judge is reading some instructions to the jury, or maybe something of the sort like that. Well, we're going to tap in a second. I just want to give you the real quick recap. So, basically, here's how quickly shit's going to move. We could possibly have a verdict by today or tomorrow. I don't see this going past Monday or latest Tuesday. That's if the jury are really deliberating and maybe maybe they're torn a bit. But I think we're going to get a verdict very soon. Now, I learned some shit too, so I'm trying to help educate y'all. Apparently, they sequestered the jury, which means once they go into deliberations, the jury will not be allowed to go back to their regular house. They will be put up in a hotel until they come to a verdict. Why? Because once the deliberation process starts, they don't want anyone outside of this courtroom or this trial process to influence a juror, to try to bribe a juror, any of the sort. So essentially after today, the jury will not be allowed to go home until they give a verdict, which you could also think about it like this. Now the jury is going to try to first of all, they're going to probably miss the weekend, right? So they're going to come to, I would believe, a verdict very expeditiously, especially if, at least in their mind, it's cut and dry. We don't know where they're leaning. Anyway, let me give the quick recap of yesterday. Actually, it wasn't yesterday because yesterday court wasn't on. This would be of Tuesday. So let me show what really happened. So, okay. Here's the big thing that happened, right? Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay, cool. So essentially, the only person, and by the way, the first thing I should show you is that Melly has declined the ability to testify. By the way, you know, just like Tory Lanez declined to testify, Melly will not take the stand. I think this is the right decision. I know Tory's having a little bit of buyer's remorse because he didn't take the stand, but now people are like, well, if you didn't shoot her, why didn't you take the stand? Listen, this is a complicated legal process, and the prosecutor, if anybody they want on the stand is the actual person they feel is a suspect, that they can sink their teeth in to make their point. You want to protect your client who probably isn't that eloquent, who probably could say something to trip you up or trip up the defense you've given thus far. You want the prosecutor to prove you're guilty, not your client to fuck up and then allow a guilty verdict to be seen. So the judge asked Melly, and this is what happened.
Defendant, and I guess Mr. Demmons, I need to talk to you, ask you a few questions, all right? You heard what your attorney said. He said he's rested. No further witnesses. Do you hear that?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, I don't know what discussion you had with your attorneys. You've got competent lawyers there. I mean, you've seen them perform here. You've discussed.
So he declined to testify. What was that nigga that was up there?
You understand that you have a right to testify, and you also have a right not to testify. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you do testify, I'm going to instruct the jury that they have to consider your testimony as they would any other witness. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And if you don't testify, I'm going to instruct the jury that you have a right not to testify, and they can't consider that, hold that against you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So my question, I guess, is did you have enough time to talk about this issue about you testifying or not testifying? Did you have enough time to discuss that with your attorneys?
Yes, sir.
Did they answer all your questions?
Yes, sir.
And what is your decision?
I will not testify.
You will not be testifying.
No, sir.
Is anyone forcing you or coercing you to make this decision?
No, sir.
Anybody make any promises or on the contrary, make any threats to get you not to testify?
No, sir.
This is your free and voluntary decision?
Yes, sir.
So let me go further. you heard your attorney said he rests, he's not going to call any other witness. That includes you, but no other witnesses. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other witnesses that you wanted your attorneys to call and present to the jury?
No, sir.
Any other evidence that you wanted your attorneys to present to this jury?
No, sir.
You good? You satisfied with their performance?
Yes, sir.
All right. And
He has a nice smile. Pause. Is that gay?
everything that you wanted the jury to hear and listen to is before the jury. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Let me ask, State, are you going to call any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
By the way, I could imagine Melly's team has discussed this. This is just a formality that could be put on the record that he understands that. By the way, there was only one witness that his.
Elementary.
You know him by another?
Uncle Buster.
Do you have a nickname?
Yes.
What is it?
AD.
Okay. First of all, take your hand.
Did he say AD?
away from your mouth because these folks have to hear it. Okay? And I need you to speak into the mouth. Do you know someone by the name of Anthony Williams?
Yes.
Do you know what his nickname was?
Sack.
Do you know someone by the name of Christopher Thomas?
Yes.
Do you know what his nickname was?
Julie.
Do you know a person by the name of Cortland Henry?
Yes.
And do you know his nickname?
Yes.
What is it? Do you know,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm sorry,
Boy.
Bort, B-O-R-T. Do you know Jamel?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you point him out for us?
Right there.
This young man right here?
Yes.
Do you know him by another name?
Melly.
Do you know someone by the name of Trevon Glass?
Yes.
Do you know his nickname?
Fetty. Thank.
Do you know someone by the name of Jacoby Mills?
Yes.
And do you know his nickname?
Kobe.
And how about, do you know someone by the name of Dontavius Withers?
Yes.
And you know his nickname?
Tate.
Let's start off with the first individual I named, Anthony Williams, also known as Sack. How did you meet him?
9th to 10th grade school.
How about Christopher Thomas? How did
Same.
you meet him?
During school.
Portland or Cortland Henry?
Met him in elementary.
How about Melly?
6th grade.
Trevon Glass?
Probably during school, 9th to 10th grade.
And his nickname was
Fetty.
Yo, Shane Rhodes, you are.
Jacoby Mills?
Since elementary.
Okay. And finally, Dontavius Withers.
Down here. For a lot of the.
So you went to school with Williams, Thomas, Henry, Melly, Glass, and Mills. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's talking. I'm moving. At any time during school, did any of you have any problems with each other?
No, not at all.
Would you label yourself good friends, associates, close friends, or what?
Good friends, close friends, best friends.
Now, did Melly also have another name besides Melly and Jamel?
Yeah.
What?
We only called him that, those crazy legs.
Crazy Legs.
Yeah.
And why was he called Crazy Legs?
Because he liked to dance.
And that's why he got that nickname.
Yeah.
Was Melly
Bro, what the fuck do this got to do with anything?
a big kid, normal size kid when you guys were in school?
He's small.
did there come a time that Melly, and when I'm referring to Melly, I'm referring to this young man, Jamel.
Yes.
Did there come a time that Melly got involved in the music industry,
Yes.
specifically rap music?
Yeah, back then.
Now, you grew up where?
Vero Beach.
And do you still live up in that area?
No, sir.
Where do you live?
West Point.
And by the way, what do you do for a living?
My granddad owns properties, rental properties and stuff, real estate. So we just cut grass, paint, whatever we need to do, keep the properties up.
I want to draw your attention to the year of 2018.
Mhm.
Did there come a time that you came down to Broward County, Miramar, Florida?
Yes.
About when was that?
I don't remember exactly, but I want to say probably like September, July, something.
Okay. And where did you stay?
At Jamel's house.
Who else was living at Jamel's house when you came down in August or September of 2018?
Me, Jacoby, Melly, Sat, Juvie,
Juvie was Christopher Thomas.
yes, Tay, and Cortland.
And was Melly in the rap music business at that time?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Did you all get along together?
Yes.
Were there ever any arguments, fights amongst you guys?
No.
And is that where you met Dontavius Withers?
Yes.
And does he have a nickname?
Tay.
Who was paying the bills at the house?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Melly was.
Let's go to the day of October 25th, and so you have an idea where I am. This incident that we're here on occurred in the early morning hours of October 26th. Okay? And I'm referring to the shootings of Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas. On October 25th, the morning of, and during the day, what were you doing?
Just chilling at the house, hanging, smoking and drinking.
Who were you smoking and drinking with?
Jacoby, Tay, everybody who usually be at the house.
Okay. Williams,
Yeah.
Thomas,
Yes.
Portland Henry,
Yes.
Trevon Glass,
Yes.
Dontavius Withers.
Yes.
And were there plans to go to a recording studio that evening?
Yes.
Did you in fact go to the recording studio?
Yes.
And that was after you all were, for lack of a better term, smoking dope, weed,
Yeah.
correct? And having a few
That nigga
drinks.
said, yeah, I was smoking dope. What the fuck is going on in these courtrooms, bro?
What was the drink of
Everything but court be going on.
choice, out of curiosity?
Hennessy.
Hennessy.
Yeah.
Who all went to the studio?
Me, Jacoby, Melly, Sat, Juvie, Cortland, Trayvon, and Tay.
Do you all go in the same car?
No.
Going to the studio, approximately what time did you get there?
I don't remember.
Was it during the day or at night?
At night?
you go in the same car, or were there two
We
cars?
took 2 cars,
What type of cars were they?
a Jeep and a Mitsubishi,
What color was the Mitsubishi?
red.
Will you tell this jury who got into the red Mitsubishi to go to the studio?
Me, Jacoby, Tay, and Fetty Trayvon.
And who got into the Jeep to go to the studio?
Melly, Sack, Juvie, and Boyd.
Who drove? Do you know who drove the Mitsubishi to the studio?
Tay,
That would be Contagious with us.
yeah.
Do you know who drove the Jeep to the studio?
I think Boyd did.
Okay, that would be
Courtney, yeah.
And what was the purpose of going to the studio?
To make music.
Did anyone fall asleep at the studio?
Yes.
Who?
We all did.
That was from the day of smoking weed and...
Shit, I'm finna start fall asleep in the video.
Fair enough. Did any arguments occur between any of you at the studio?
Not at all.
Did there come a time that you all left the studio?
Yes.
Did you leave the studio earlier than what was scheduled?
Yeah, I believe so. So we all in there asleep.
Will you tell the jury who got into the red Mitsubishi?
Me, Jacoby, Trayvon, and Tate, Dontravius.
You know who got into the Jeep?
Cortland, Jamel, Sack, and Juvie.
Where were you going? Did anyone fall asleep in your car?
Yeah, we about all did except for the driver.
Did there come a time that you were woken up before you got to the house?
Yes.
What happened?
We pulled over, and that's when Melly got in the car with us.
Do you know where you pulled over?
And I don't really remember.
Were you woken up?
Yeah, but
Why?
it was like, because I was getting pushed over a little bit.
And are you 100% sure that this young man got into the red Mitsubishi?
Yes.
What happened to the Jeep?
I think they just kept going.
Where'd you go?
It froze.
Did he have to unlock the door?
Yes.
Do you know who has the keys to Melly's house on October 26th in the early morning hours?
Jamel and Borton. They the only one who had keys to the house.
Did you have a key to the house?
No.
Did Williams have a key to the house?
No.
Did Christopher Thomas have a key to the house?
No.
Did Trevon Glass have a key to the house?
No.
Did Jacoby Mills have a key to the house?
No.
And how about Dontavius Williams? Did he?
So this nigga is saying that Melly got out that car and got in the red car that we're seeing on camera with them. He got out of that car and got in the car with them is what he's saying.
have a key?
No.
Okay. So the only two people you know who had a key to the house was this young man
Yes.
and Cortland Henry.
Yes.
Did you see this young man unlock the door of the house?
Yes.
Who was the last person to get out of the red Mitsubishi to go inside the house?
Trayvon, he was in the car still asleep.
He was in the car asleep when you got to his house?
Yeah.
Did you see where Melly went?
To his room.
And where was his bedroom?
When you first walked in the house, can't miss it. It's right down the left.
Okay. This is a 1 or 2 story house.
2.
Where did you go? Where did Dontavius Withers go? Where? I'll bring it up.
Thank you.
Do you know where Dontavius Withers went?
To his room upstairs.
Do you know where Trevon Glass went?
To the room upstairs.
Do you know where Jacoby Mills went?
He slept on me.
So the 3 of you, the 4 of you went upstairs,
Yeah.
correct? And this young man went into his bedroom.
Yes.
Same. Rephrase.
How many people went upstairs to go to sleep?
3.
And you?
Yeah.
That would be,
Me, Jacoby, Melly. Well, no, Melly was downstairs in his room. Me, Jacoby, Fetty, and Tay. So 4 of us.
okay. And Melly went to his bedroom.
Yes.
Did there come a time in the early morning hours that you were woken up and heard some distressing news?
Yes.
What did you hear?
That second Julie was shot.
That
My bad. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. This shit on
You went back
DJ
to
Academics
Melly's
page if y'all want to watch it without me.
you got to answer yes or no.
Proceed.
Mr. Davis, you said you're 100% sure that Mr. Dennis found out at the same time you did.
Yes.
No questions about that. You're sure he was at that house.
Yes.
And you were upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
He was downstairs.
Yes.
But you're sure he was there. You could see him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And you are 100% sure his phone was missing.
Yes.
Where in the statement on May 5th did you ever say that?
Objection.
Suggestion.
It was never asked.
Thank you. Counsel, so I guess the objection is improper impeachment, so rephrase your question. I just think
So,
objection.
you met with me on May 5th of 2022, you remember that?
Yes.
And you remember sitting down, you were present, that's a yes?
Yes.
Your 2 attorneys were present that you brought,
Mhm.
that's a yes?
Yes.
And I asked you questions for,
No, nigga got dry as hell when he got cross-examined. Then he got dry in the motherfucker. Oh, I'm tripping.
quite a number of hours. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met with anyone else with regards to this case?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met prior to speaking with me with the attorney sitting over to my left?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know who they were, and my lawyers told you that.
Okay.
I didn't know their names.
But you remember meeting with them?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you remember asking and being asked a question about what you talked about with them?
Yes.
Did you remember what you told them?
No.
Do you remember what you told them now?
Yes.
So are you telling this jury that when you were speaking with me, you forgot?
As in, what I'm telling them now, as of right now, yes.
So on the phone on that, do you remember if Mr. Devins had a passcode on his cell phone back then?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? And in terms of, would you be surprised to find that there was one on that cell phone?
No.
Did you know the passcode?
I don't think so. I don't even remember if he had one. We all use this phone sometimes. We all use each other's phones.
So you would use his cell phone? Why?
Talk to females.
You pretend to be him to get women?
She asked him, do he pretend to be him to get women. He bogus. I mean, she bogus as hell.
Because you couldn't get them on your own?
Objection.
Why would you use this on
Threw a slick shot because you couldn't get him on your own.
Stick this.
It's overruled. Go ahead.
Oh God, throw a slick shot.
With regards to
Get women 'cause you couldn't get 'em on your own?
Situation there.
Damn,
Not paying any rent, right?
Oh, man.
somebody salty as hell.
And nobody was paying any rent in that house except for the defendant.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So, do you remember that evening driving to the studio?
Equal fucking me up.
Yes.
You remember who was in which car?
On the way there, yes.
And you remember who was on each car on the way back?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any threats that were made to anyone that night?
No, ma'am.
Did anyone have any other conversations or discussions about threats from outside parties?
No, ma'am.
Is anyone worried about their safety?
No, ma'am. But Melly's a rapper, you know, he's always going to be a target.
I'm sorry.
I said he's a rapper, so he's always going to be a target.
Okay. And do you remember stopping on the side of the road?
Yes.
Where did you stop?
I don't remember. It's like flashes and blinks, drinking and smoking, so I just know we stopped.
You know,
Nah, this nigga right here good, bro. This nigga good. He good at dodging them motherfucking questions. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
And do you remember if that was on a highway?
Not at all.
Okay, do you remember if it was on a divided 4-lane road?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember if you guys were using GPS to get home?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do you remember if you knew the route home?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what phone number you had back then?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember your phone number?
5 years ago, so.
Okay. Do you remember if you were awake or asleep?
Just told you. We were asleep.
You were asleep.
Yeah.
And you said you were intoxicated?
You'd answer out loud.
Yes.
Do you know why the car stopped?
No.
Do you have any conversations or messages with the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Did you have a phone call with him?
No, ma'am.
When you stopped, was the gray Jeep in front of red Mitsubishi?
Yeah, I believe so.
Have you ever answered that question differently?
I don't think so.
If I were to show you your statement from May 5th of 2022, would that help you in answering if you'd ever said something different than what you just testified in court?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, approaching with page 33 of the statement, counsel. And you just read silently to yourself.
One line?
Lines 18 through 20.
Yeah. I basically told you I don't remember.
Okay, so now your answer is I don't remember if the
Yeah.
Jeep was in front or the Mitsubishi was in front.
If you watched the video, they put off first, so I didn't know it was in front of us.
Oh, so you watched the video.
You showed it to me.
In terms of the trial, you've been watching that on the night?
He getting bad. That nigga getting bad now.
No, ma'am.
He showed it to me.
In terms of when you got home, you mentioned that you said Mr. Demons went to his room.
Yes.
Have you ever answered that question differently?
No.
Okay. On May 5th, 2022, remember that statement?
Uh-huh.
At that point, did you say, I don't know where he went? I assume his room.
I don't know.
You don't know. But looking at your statement, help refresh your recollection on that?
Yes.
Okay, page 34, lines 12 and 13, counsel.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you previously give a different statement that you didn't know where he went and you were assuming he went to his room?
Yeah. He went into the room.
So with regards to the car, you're saying that you got pushed over when somebody got in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. And with regards to being pushed over, did you wake up when that happened?
Like it was flashes. Like yeah, I guess you could say I woke up.
Okay. And did they move you over or climb over you?
I don't remember.
Have you ever made a statement? page 33, question was asked, did they climb over to get you to the middle of, over you to get to the middle of the back seat? Your answer was, I think I was at the window, so no, I think they might have climbed over.
Okay.
So is it your testimony that somebody climbed over you or you pushed over?
I mean,
Or that you don't remember?
yeah, I don't really remember.
You don't really remember?
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the phone, right? Did you see anyone get into that gray Jeep?
No.
You remember going to Frito Bank's house?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember seeing the defendant there?
They is gonna piss me off next time they call that man Frito. Frito. Stop saying that. It's Fredo. Damn.
Anybody else?
Yeah, he was there with us.
And you remember leaving there afterwards?
Yes.
And you remember going back to the defendant's house?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember at that point that when you went back to the defendant's house, it was you, Travion, Glass, or Fetty, and Jacoby. That's it.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And you said that you were in and out of sleep and intoxicated.
Yes.
And in terms of you remember that Travion was the last person to get out of the car?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Do you believe so, or do you remember? Which is it?
Yes.
And you know, and you mentioned about Mr. Demons looking for his phone, right?
Yes.
So of course he used your phone to call it and try and find it, right?
I don't remember.
You don't remember how he was trying to find his phone?
Just in the house looking for it, just like you would do if you lost yours.
So he didn't, try and do Find My iPhone or anything like
Yeah,
that. Of course
man.
he used yours to do that, right?
I don't remember.
Of course he used something like, an Apple iWatch and set it up.
Objection, there's no testimony that he had
I
it.
don't remember.
Excuse me,
Okay?
one at a time, you asked the question, objection notice, overruled.
So of course he did all that. He went on Find My iPhone and he's looking for it.
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. And of course he is using everybody else's phone to try and find it.
I don't know.
You don't remember. Okay.
I mean,
Conveniently, the phone's
no, not really. This nigga is a millionaire, bro. What the fuck is he gonna be stressing? Look, I mean, yes, at that moment, but once he can't find it, nigga, it's lost. The fuck?
missing that one.
Objection to the form.
Yes.
I understand what she's saying though,
With
but
regards to your conversation,
Like, these
you
niggas
texted
rich.
back and forth with the defendant prior.
nigga would have called their phone though. I ain't gonna lie, I take that back. Nigga would have called their phone. I know damn well I'd have called mine. You damn right. I don't know about yeah. I feel what she's saying.
Event occurring, right?
Cause I would have called mine
And
from somebody's phone.
Sent you a picture of his driver's license from that phone number.
I'd have just been like, nah, hell nah.
So you knew Mr. Demons, the defendant Melly, to use that cell phone 772-713-9807.
I don't know what the numbers is.
You have it saved in your phone, right?
Yeah, but I can't just remember that phone number like that. That number, but
And your testimony is that he's looking all over the house.
yeah.
So in terms of the phone, did you see it again that day?
I don't remember.
No. Okay. And in terms of the phone traveling up to the video shoot up in Cocoa, you don't know how the phone would have gotten up there.
I don't know.
And you didn't shoot.
Fuck you talking about? Melly was with me the whole time. Hey, you talking about?
You know who we're talking about, right?
Chris and Anthony.
Yes. And in terms of the messages and things for Mr. Hammond, you're aware that his phone was broken at that time, right?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
In terms of Mr. Demons, you know he was dating Mariah Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know that Mr. Demons would FaceTime her on a regular basis?
Objection.
What's the objection?
There's no evidence of that.
I don't know.
So you know, and Mr. Demons would,
Excuse me, use the correct name.
Mr. Demons, my apologies. Mr. Demons would FaceTime and video chat frequently.
Yes, that's what you got a phone for.
And Mr. Davis, you never met with Detective Mark Melly? You never gave a statement?
No, ma'am.
And so the first time that you ever said anything about the phone being missing was today, July 18, 2023?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Few questions.
Is there any way you go ask?
Detective Moretti never even talked to you during this investigation, did he?
No, sir.
And the bottom line is, at the time you learned that Christopher and Anthony were shot, Sack and Juvie were shot, this man was at his house, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you tell that to the state?
Yes.
And were they the first ones who contacted you about this case?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is this witness excused?
Yes.
Sir, thank you very much. You may step down. You're excused. Counsel?
We would, at this time.
So this nigga said that Melly was at the house from the very jump beginning. Melly had an alibi the whole time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need a few minutes with the attorneys. Do not discuss the case. Don't form any opinion about the case. Don't allow.
This nigga muted. Alright, let me skip to where the audio come back.
Friend is saying,
Goes on further. Listen closely.
System does not work with.
Right now,
Something like that.
then
So we're going to start on the trajectory runs. If you recall, on the outside, the most important aspect of the ones on the outside of the car is they show that this was not a drive-by.
oh, my bad, sorry. Wow, I'm an idiot for being muted. So what that friend did, but I think it might come back around to fuck Melly, pause. The friend basically is filling in the timeline for the jury. The friend is saying, yeah, I know all y'all got is that the phone was in the car, but Melly wasn't in the car. How do I know Melly was in the car? We picked Melly up. That goes against what the prosecutor's been saying, that Melly called Fredo Bang to pick him up. Now, he admits, he says, yeah, we pick him up, we go to the house, then we go to Fredo Bang's house. Okay? Now, I'm guessing they don't have call records on Fredo Bang, so they don't know. So it looked like the prosecutor might be a little bit hazy on, did he actually get picked up by Fredo Bang? Now, here's the thing. They know he did leave the scene, though. They definitely know that, because they see the phone supposedly moving, which this is where it's going to come back, I think, to bite Melly's team a bit. Because the guy who was saying he picked up Melly, he's in the red Mitsubishi. When they go back to the apartment, they drive through, because it's a gated community, and there's a surveillance camera there. You see a bunch of people sleeping in the car, except the driver. Now, you can't really see who it is, but you can kind of give a count of how many people. If Melly's telling the truth, it should be 5 people in that car. There were 4 before, they picked up Melly, that's 5. If it's only 4, where was Melly?
Where was Melly?
I think the prosecution is going to use that to try to hammer shit home to say, yo, that witness was lying, they never picked up Melly.
Where the
Right?
fuck was Melly?
We would have seen on surveillance footage. And also, this whole thing that Melly never had his phone, we have Melly's phone being tracked, going blah, blah, blah. You get what I mean? So, somebody says he was lying on somebody's lap. It's going to get dicey. Again, this guy who took the stand, being the only witness for Melly's side, he did as great of a job as you possibly could do in just like trying to
He
absorb.
definitely got up there and did his motherfucking thing. Got up there and did exactly what the fuck he was supposed to do.
Of Melly from the situation. He basically is vouching that, oh, Melly only found out when we found out. They asked him, they said, why did the car stop? Why did Melly get out? I don't know. He just got out. You know?
Shit don't matter.
Again,
well, all that
they're trying
mattered
to
what
make
I
it
said.
add up,
Melly
but
was
it
with
creates
me.
more questions. Were they arguing in the studio? No. Did Melly say anything after he got in the vehicle? No. How y'all know y'all all found out together when y'all stay upstairs at the house and Melly was downstairs? How did he know? We were getting messages. Wait, how did he get a message? You said his phone wasn't with him. You know you don't fucked up, right? So there's a couple little things there that they're gonna try to, be like, yo, that nigga's a liar. I think they're gonna point out in closing statements. There's a couple holes still there. It's gonna be like, yo, wait, how did Melly find out? Remember, they're saying Melly didn't have the phone. So if Melly don't have the phone,
Let's go for
As
it.
you can see, all the blood is dripping down the back of the seat. That tells you, ladies and gentlemen, and from the angle of entry when we get to the medical examiner's information, that his head was right here.
hey, the more they show the bullet wounds, they're going to show the bodies, they're going to show the car, the blood. This is what I think they're hoping that people are going to, like the jurors are going to, it's seeing the clothes of a dead man and seeing dead people. It's going to hit you hard like there's a real crime that happened here, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that during the course of this shooting, Cortland Henry has his
By the way, you know what the friend also did? I just thought about it. The friend of Melly, he also basically tries to counter the narrative. Remember, Melly goes to a video shoot the next day, and he's just chilling, just stacking and stacking. It shows that Melly was crying, where he says, yo, Melly was emotional. It makes him seem like a human, because everything we see on video is Melly laughing.
side of his shirt, not the front. So on here you have the blowback coming there, and that's, again, 32.2 septillion times more likely to be the DNA of Anthony Williams. So then we have the back of the shirt. And so if you recall, the blood on the back of the shirt is right here. And that blood, Christopher Thomas, a single source profile. So what does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? That tells you that Cortland Henry didn't fire the fatal shot for Christopher Thomas. Here's why. That blood is coming from Mr. Thomas when he is shot. The blood's only moving like that, as you heard from Sergeant Williams, when there is a pulse, when there is pressure. Remember the garden hose analogy that he used and talked about? That's when you're getting the blood that's going to be coming out of the body. And on that, so from there, you know, Cortland Henry is ducked over and flinching away from Christopher Thomas. So he cannot get that shot on Christopher Thomas from where he is seated in the driver's seat. Even if he was in the back seat, let's argue that for a second. To get the blood there, he would have to have been completely turned facing backwards to Mr. Thomas and then turned and shot over his shoulder to get blood on the back of his shirt. That's not reasonable inside of a car. What is reasonable is that he's driving, the shot happens to Anthony Williams in the back of the head, blood gets on the front of his shirt. He flinches, comes down, shot happens to Christopher Thomas, blood gets on the back of the shirt. So that was the other aspect that we learned from Anthony Williams, because there was the entrance and the exit wound. So from there, ladies and gentlemen, you can tell, again, the side-to-side orientation of the head, because that front passenger window is blown out. That tells you that his head was not upright, but it was laying over to the side. Because if you recall, the entrance on Mr. Williams is back behind his left ear, and the exit is up here in his hairline. If he was sitting up and awake and knew what was going on, you would expect to find a projectile in the headliner and the roof of that Jeep. But you don't. Instead, you know, based on his head angle, that it goes out the window, blows out the glass. For Christopher Thomas, he is in the rear. So what do you know about Christopher Thomas's wound? That it's coming in at almost 90 degrees on the left side of his face, and that there is stippling. You learned about stippling, the imprint of unburnt gunpowder into the skin of a living human being. Powder tattooing, it's also called. So on Christopher Thomas, you learned from Sergeant Williams, as well as from the medical examiners, that the firearm that inflicted that wound was approximately 3 inches to no more than 3 feet. Sergeant Williams said his estimation is no more than 12 inches away. And so why is that important? Let's go back and argue the Cortland Henry. If Cortland Henry was making these shots from the driver's seat, you would expect Anthony Williams to be covered in stippling, because they're that much closer and nothing would be blocking or impeding that shot. But if the shot is instead coming from the rear passenger side, you're not going to have that same stippling on Anthony Williams because the seat's in the way. Cortland Henry, there is nothing blocking it, so you have the stippling. So ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the things that you would notice, and the differences that show that why it could not have been Cortland Henry in the driver's seat with this weapon. We know it can the backseat passenger, it could have been, because there is stippling. If it was the backseat passenger was shot by the driver, you wouldn't see that pattern of stippling because they couldn't get close enough to make that pattern in that imprint. So then we have all the drive-by on the trajectory rods that we've talked about briefly. But this one is important because this is talking about strike K. So why is strike K important, right? Strike K comes in and hits the front of the rear door. That tells you that that door was open when that drive-by was staged. Because as you heard from Sergeant Williams, if this was actually a drive-by, this is what you would have seen. Strikes coming in at different angles, at obtuse angles. There would be angles of entry that would show either a pattern of speeding up or slowing down. But instead, you have them coming in at 90 degrees. And that goes for the front, on the driver's side door, the rear driver's side door, and then you have strike K going across. And remember, this is, Chris Carter took this picture that shows you where strike K impacted this door. If this door had been closed, you would expect it to be going into the speaker. That's where you would expect it if it had been a closed door. That's not what happened. Also, if that had happened during a drive-by, whoever was sitting in that rear driver's side passenger seat would have had a projectile right through their knees. That was the path of that bullet. Talking about as well on the driver. If you recall, ladies and gentlemen, projectiles are found underneath the brake pedal. You don't see any injuries on Mr. Henry. He got out of that car too.
Leave that man out of this shit right now. He got to face his own time, man. Stop bringing that man up.
So the shots from the back of the car, same angle of entry. They're not coming from the side. They're not coming in like there's any difference. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to talk about the medical examiner's information. I know it's difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a picture up briefly, then I'm going to move to a blank slide to talk about it. So everyone, I'm not trying to traumatize anyone. It's part of the case and it's evidence, so I apologize.
I think she's going to show the bodies.
So as you've
We won't
learned,
see it. We won't see it.
Anthony Williams' autopsy was conducted by Dr. McDougall. Dr. McDougall, if you remember, had COVID. She came in and testified. So again, we have Anthony Williams. What did you learn during the course of Anthony Williams' autopsy? You learned that this is one of 3 times that Dr. McDougall could ever testify what was the fatal shot and which shots were post-mortem. And so I'm going to move on, and the next picture is going to show the fatal shot. Again, A is the entry wound, and E is the exit wound. And again, that shows the angle in which his head was positioned. And also it shows the lack of stippling, showing that that firearm was further away than that of Christopher, the wound that was inflicted on Christopher Thomas. So then I'm going to show you for comparison the difference with the post-mortem, where it's white, there's no hemorrhaging, there's no signs of life, body bleeding on these wounds. And these are the ones, if you recall, to his shoulder and to his torso. And so the one from his torso, which is B, came in through the side of the car and was into his body. And if you recall, the one that's site C came from one of the shots through the back of the car and into his shoulder. Moving on to Dr. Sodders with Christopher Thomas. As to Christopher Thomas, you learned about the stippling and the pattern that's on them. You learned the distance determination, and you learned that the wound through his head was the one that caused his death. And that was the one for which he was alive. You learned that when you're stippling, those are those tiny black implanted bits of gunpowder. So if you recall from George Bello, he drew the cone. You have a firearm, and as the parts from the firearm that are expelled, you have the projectile that goes forward, and then you have the cloud that gets increasingly bigger as it travels away from the muzzle of the gun. The example, if you take a handful of dust, sand, and a golf ball. You learn the golf ball is going to go the farthest because it has the most mass. It has the most weight to it. So the most energy can be transported to it. The golf ball is like your bullet. The sand is your unburnt powders of gunpowder. It's going to travel, not as far, but it has more mass, so more energy can be transferred to it than that of the dust. The dust falls out quickly. That's why we can say it's not 3 inches, but that's why they can say it's less than 3 feet from the medical examiner's perspective. So going to the wounds on his back. Again, no signs whatsoever of any. But this isn't the timing. So at this point, the state has established, based on the business records from Sprint,
They showed the map.
Christopher Thomas, 772-713-2341. But for the time in question, we have 2 cars, and you can go and pull this up. And if you need any assistance with doing that, we'll be happy to bring it back up in court and show it to you. You have 2 cars, and you can watch. So if the top lanes are looking east towards Fort Lauderdale, so when you watch these videos, you'll see 2 cars that come here on the eastbound, and then they're going to pop up down here on the westbound camera, and they're heading west. And ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that if you watch these 2 cars, one red and one gray, you will see them come up here and go to the left to get onto the ramp over to I-75 South. You can see here the lights going to the Sawgrass Expressway up to the Panther Arena. But if you watch those 2 cars at 3:35, that's what you will see. They go over to the left, head south towards Miramar Parkway. And so what you've learned, again, we have the camera icon, and then we have where the phone suggests the network it says it is. Blue dot right there at the bottom. Again, Meters, not miles. We then have McDonald's, 3:47:56 and 3:46:57. So 1 second apart on those two cameras. And there, remember, we saw the red car go first, then the gray Jeep on 595. You're looking here, red car, gray car. So, on surveillance footage, when a business, a private residence, puts up surveillance cameras, they're not there for the benefit of law enforcement. They're there for the benefit of that business. So they're not required to capture the street that goes by. They're not required by any law to maintain those videos for any longer than they feel is necessary. They're there to make sure that if someone's coming through and burglarizing their business, they capture that information. The fact that they also happen to catch the cars going by is dumb luck. But this is not just dumb luck, because this is one of the parts of the investigation that Detective Moretti talked to you about. That they went out and went to multiple businesses. And look, these aren't officers that have been there 2 weeks on the job. Detective Moretti talked about, yeah, I've done tons of investigations at Walmart. I know their video retention policies. This is their jurisdiction that they are intimately familiar with as to where these cameras are and what they show. If you have a camera that's pointing in the completely wrong direction, you don't need to waste time to go in and look at something that's not going to show you anything. Or if you know the data retention period has already passed, because most are 7 days or less, you don't need to go back and do that again. So if you look at, again, we have the McDonald's. This is where the network thinks the phone is at 3:47. Meters, not miles. But this is showing you that those records are accurate. They're not explicitly precise, but they are accurate. Going to 3:53 a.m. This is the Montessori Academy. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see there's the Montessori Academy. And there's
Family first, thank you for the donation. Say, yo, I hate to admit it, man, but she making sense. And I know the defense is cooked, but the jury's regular people like me. So if I'm convinced, I know they're on board. Damn. Hey, let's start up a poll in Rumble, Twitch, and YouTube. Is Melly cooked or nah? By the way, she's supposed to be convincing. This is the state's closing arguments. We have to see, do you get convinced back to the other side when you hear Melly's team? By the way, this is a call.
3:50 a.m. So ladies and gentlemen, you learned a lot about the geography of Miramar and Fort Lauderdale and the distances between them.
You can't see who in that car, bro. You can't see who back here. Unless they... Oh, I forgot they got to drive past, though.
Learned from 805 Northeast 4th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to Sunset Lakes, the 40th Street Visitors Entrance. You're looking about 31 miles. Detective Moretti talked to you about driving that route, and rather than spend 45 minutes doing that drive, he instead did the 16-minute version flying over it to be able to show you all of these locations in a much quicker, expedient process. So you know that the red Mitsubishi goes 30 miles in 30 minutes. That's an average speed of 60 miles an hour. And so you have in that the phone of Dontavius Withers. Mr. Withers has been identified as the person who was driving. And you have Travion Glass in that front passenger seat. Ladies and gentlemen, watch that video, please. You can see Mr. Glass moving his hands. You can see that he's awake at the time at this guard gate. Watch it. If you need help, again, we're happy to assist. So then we have 4:03 a.m. So at 4:03 a.m., ladies and gentlemen, we have a very specific location the network thinks the phone is. And this goes back to being in the big city, right? We're here in this courtroom. Right there we can see 3rd Avenue out the window. We can see the New River. Phone doesn't know if we're on the 4th floor, 5th floor, 6th floor. But we could be anywhere in this building, right? That's the beauty of Pembroke Road and US 27. Because what you've learned, ladies and gentlemen, is that on the west side of Highway US 27, there is a canal. You've learned that 208 Avenue is gated on the north and the south ends. That there is a Pembroke Pines fire training facility out there, so it's locked. You've learned that at the end of Pembroke Road, out here to the east on this map, they're accurate. We're saying that it is reliable on that. That it is also able to be corroborated by other evidence. What do I mean? 3:18 a.m., where it says the defendant is outdoor stationary, guess what the video at the studio shows? The defendant outside. When it says out
Okay,
here
so
at
she basically just going through all this shit, saying how accurate the shit is,
440 and 440.
and how, you know, how accurate the location shit is, showing the map and all that shit. I ain't showing.
22.
There's a counter in it. Remember, Melly only called one witness, which was his friend. They didn't call other experts to say, hey, well, hold on a bit. I know y'all go off GPS positioning, but we have this one case, or sometimes it gives a bad reading every 90 seconds, like something to make it seem like the GPS and forensic evidence isn't, you know, up there. But here's the thing, you just can't argue with science. Like, you look retarded. So I think that's why they didn't try it. But this is why I said it was always an uphill battle, because how are you going to argue with bullet trajectories and fucking all the ballistic stuff they did? What are you going to try to say? Be like, oh no, y'all are just randomly creating that the bullets came from this one seat. It really came from outside? Are you going to argue with a medical examiner that's done thousands of autopsies to say, oh no, the fatal shot was actually done from outside the car, not inside the car? Everybody's saying everything. So I think they're just kind of hoping on you don't got the murder weapon, don't got a motive. Everybody around him is basically saying he wasn't there or he don't know what's going on. And while as a jury member, you do want to, you're looking like, Melly, what the fuck happened? He doesn't need to tell you what happened. They need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty. And that's where we're at right now. Let's get back to it live, right?
Counsel Ruther and the Assistant State Attorney. Counsel, if you're ready to proceed with your closing, you may.
Mr. Williams, same phones, same phone plans. At 4:42 a.m., US 27 Pembroke Road also shows him at this location in Cocoa. And he is.
Lunch break. All right.
Could be a long weekend for that jury.
Birmingham to Nashville was conducted.
A victim. And you get the Jussie Smollett's of this world. And you get the Carly Russells of this world.
And made the decision at that point, he couldn't have a witness.
Right. And that's the Melly update.